Rugby news now. After a dominant victory over Fiji last Saturday, Scotland now faces an even greater challenge this weekend as they take on the Springboks at Murrayfield. Historically, the two teams have met 29 times, with the Springboks winning 24 of those encounters. Scotland has claimed just 5 victories, the most recent being in 2010. The Scots are eager to change these statistics with a win against the World Champions this coming Sunday. So to discuss this and Scotland's chances of causing an upset, we are joined by Mark Palmer, the Scottish rugby correspondent all the way in the UK and writes for the Times and Sunday Times. Mark, a great rugby weekend we are looking forward to. You think the Scots can pull an upset?
I think they're capable and will believe themselves capable of doing so. As you mentioned, their recent history very much against them. The Springboks are on 8 straight wins in this fixture, including a relatively routine one on the opening weekend of that World Cup campaign last year. I think Scotland will feel they have the game to challenge any defence, even that fantastic Springboks blitz effort. But you know, it's one thing saying that and another doing it. Again, down in Marseille in that World Cup game, they didn't really manage to fire a shot. So the odds would be firmly stacked against Scotland. But you know, on a wet, miserable day at Murrayfield, who knows what might happen.
Mark, a lot has been made about the Glasgow Warriors being able to have come to South Africa, beating the Bulls at a packed Loftus Versfeld, and the psychological boost that has done for the Scottish player. Do you think the current crop of players do sniff an opportunity to do something special?
I think so, and that's given them a real kind of body of work that run through the knockouts last year. Glasgow, they beat the Stormers at home in the quarter-final, which was a tough enough challenge as you're going to get at that stage. They then went to Munster, to Limerick, and won in Thomond Park, which is a very difficult thing to do, as you know. And then topped it off by winning at Loftus. So it's given them, in a Glasgow-dominated team that Scotland won, those players are coming in with the knowledge that they've been to some of the most difficult places in the world and managed to win playing their brand of rugby. So it can only provide that level of confidence. You've also got, Blair Kinghorn coming back into the team, having been a double winner with Toulouse last year. Finn Russell was in a Premiership final with Bath in the summer as well. You've now got a team of players who are kind of used to big occasions and doing well on big occasions. So there's probably been a mindset shift there in the group that will stand them in good stead for the ultimate test, which is South Africa.
How much of an advantage is it to have a few South African-born players in the setup, but also, the Glasgow coach is South African?
Yes, there's absolutely no doubt that those South African players and coaches have been a hugely positive influence on the group. Duhan van der Merwe, absolutely flying since he came to Scotland in 2017, is now the country's top try scorer. He's in a bit of a personal duel with Darcy Graham. They were kind of swapping it back and forward even in the course of the game last weekend, before Duhan went back out in front himself. Darcy Graham obviously missing this weekend with his head injury, which is a big blow. But yeah, Van der Merwe's been exceptional. Pierre Schoeman as well, on the loose head side of the scrum, has been a really important player in both attack and defence for Scotland. And as you said, Franco Smith, a revelation since he moved across from his job with the Italian Union. He's really, again, I think there's very much a mindset thing that as much as any rugby kind of impact. He's really lifted the level of expectation at Glasgow. He's shown these players what hard work and commitment really looks like, and they're reaping the reward. So yeah, thank you very much for your contribution.
And how have you guys taken to the recent evolution of the Springbok game, under a new attack coach, Tony Brown? How are the Scots seeing this? Is this going to be a running game? How do you see it?
It's really interesting because, we were asking Gregor Townsend about this earlier in the week, and he made that point straight off the bat that, they're almost mixing the best of two worlds now, South Africa, where they can still go to that famous power game, which is, set piece game, which has really, been elevated into an art form over many years in your country. But they have undoubtedly added layers both during and after the World Cup, which means they can come at you from different ways and different directions as well. So I think they've got a really rich and varied armoury to go to South Africa, which means that however the game evolves, they will feel that they can come out on top, that they'll have something that they can go to, which is better than Scotland in that area. So, yeah, undoubtedly the Springboks go in as significant favourites, but with just the sniff of an upset in the air.
How much in the Scottish setup has changed since the two sides met at the World Cup?
It's been a fairly settled side. The backbone of that team is still very much the same. There's been an enforced change at hooker. George Turner, after winning at Loftus, winning the league with Glasgow, has moved to Japan to play his club rugby, so he's no longer available. So Ewan Ashman has kind of stepped up into that role so far, the Edinburgh player. But across the board, it's a pretty settled unit up front. Halfbacks have tended to be Ben White alongside Finn Russell. That centre combination of Tuipulotu and Hugh Jones has gone from strength to strength. So I think that kind of consistency of selection and approach has been a real feature since the World Cup, albeit that the captain has changed again. That has also been a feature of Gregor Townsend's era, that he's chopped and changed a lot there. It's Sione Tuipulotu. He's been in superlative form for Glasgow the back end of last season and the start of this one. So the side will look very much like what you guys saw down in Marseille last year. As I say, hopefully just kind of maybe with that extra ballast of knowing that they can win big games and big occasions.
Well, Mark, just lastly from me, a quick one, just a short answer from me. How's the weather in Scotland? Will the South Africans be able to showcase their running game, or will it be wet?
It's been unseasonably mild, certainly by our standards. For November, we've been at sort of, anything up to about 15 degrees centigrade this week. So it's definitely not cold, or what we would class as cold, but it has been kind of wet and damp and slightly miserable. I've not seen the exact latest forecast for kick-off on Sunday, but albeit, even if it's a wet, miserable day, South Africa have the great set piece and kick chase game to go to as well. So. Yeah. I'm not sure it would be the advantage it might have been in yesteryear, but hopefully it won't be too wet.
Thank you so much, Mark. We'll leave it there. Mark Palmer, the Sunday Times writer in the UK, in Scotland, giving us the latest from the Scottish camp ahead of that all-important match between the Springboks and, of course, Scotland this coming Sunday. That's where we leave it from the Sports Desk. Michelle Craig with your latest news and updates right after this.